All right, giddy up. You guys want to throw out some numbers? Get some questions rolling?
Yeah, we're going to do a 3-2-1 so we know to break it out.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back.
We're back.
We're back.
We still don't have a name for the question section. We'll figure it out.
The fact that we're back, though.
Yeah.
We're back.
It's all about
Cheers
consistency.
to that.
What? We got numbers?
Yeah. Let's do number 23.
Is it ever right to do the wrong thing? And inverse, is it ever wrong to do the right thing?
No, who's defining what's right and what's wrong?
That's
I
part
think
of the
you need to
question,
start
yeah.
there.
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm just going to say yes. But this is such a wide-ranging question because this could have to do anything with your marriage, your relationship, your training, things like that. Like, we can even bring it back to football. I know, and this is a sore subject across football right now, but I can guarantee you there were times in college when I was probably concussed and the right thing would have been, when someone comes and checks on you, hey, I'm not all there. But in turn, guess what? I want to play, and I say, no, I'm good. Like, right? I'm just shaking the cobwebs off.
Yeah, so in your logic, the wrong thing was the right.
Correct.
To keep playing, yeah.
Correct, to keep playing.
But,
you know what I'm saying?
But it is a personal standard thing. Like, it's your own conscious version
Yeah, I mean, because in that scenario, everything in him said it was right to fight through it and play, And I don't know, I think of like you brought up football. I thought of like a very literal term as like, as a defensive end, if you're going to, you're supposed to set the edge and you go underneath, you got to make the play. It's the wrong thing to do, but it could be right. In that situation, it could have been the right play, but it's the wrong thing to do. That's a pretty literal thing.
But it's a loose-ended question, too, because, sometimes my wife walks down, she asks me if her hair looks good.
I was going there next.
I'm like, your hair looks great when that's the right thing to do. But, hey, I may have liked it up in a bun the way you had it last time. But,
Exactly. That's a good one, too. I mean, but even in that scenario, for you, it was the right thing to tell her, yes, it looks great.
100%. No, but that's what I'm getting at.
So I think for me, that question is so dependent upon, what you consider to be right versus wrong. I mean, people every day are doing stuff and walking their life that I think everything they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like...
In their head, they're doing everything that's right.
I mean... You could turn that political or whatever. You could turn that a bunch of different ways. But, like, there are people, like, genuinely convinced that they're doing it or they don't care. And they're, in my eyes, it's completely wrong. But somewhere they have to feel like they're doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because go deeper into the realm that like everybody, like out of self-preservation, like everybody's selfish, and so selfishly going to do what favors them, and in essence, what favors you is what you think is right in the moment. And then now, what defines right and wrong? Is it the laws? Is it God? Is it your own subconscious? Is it the Matrix computer runner that's running this simulation?
I mean, those are the three questions.
Yeah,
defining what's right and wrong. Is it you personally? Is it God? Is it the laws set? I mean, because there are laws, I'm sure, we talk about it in this country all the time that people don't believe. Who sets the precedence as what's right and wrong?
Yeah.
It comes back to that again for me.
But which is a fun conversation too, or we won't go down that whole route. But obviously there's the history led to this government structure that let their power to enforce these laws with force. And so now it's like, okay, we have freedom of speech, but like now like there's even they're arresting people for protesting and all those kind of things too. So now the government hardline right, even though there's rules in there that are right and wrong, Yeah. Does that make sense?
Well, then you go down that rabbit hole. We could go down that forever.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? From the whole political standpoint and what people are doing and what, it goes back to gender identity right now, right?
Okay.
But seriously, some people think it's okay to have a 6-year-old boy that say he wants to be a girl. that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
But some people think that's right.
But I think that's why I think, well, like obviously the court system is what it is, but like when you get judged by your peers, you have 12 people that have different subjective measurements of what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
And then so now, like, does it take a lawyer to like reread all the lines to what specificity is on what is right and what is wrong? And then so it just like, and like a judge, like judges make rulings without juries all the time as well too. And that's even in the gender category. So it's just like I think it'll eternally be subjective.
Yeah, I mean it is, and you're talking about a muddy area.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. All right, next question.
But that's where so much friction. Yeah.
No, that's a good
Nate,
one.
give me a number.
56. What are we going to? What are the numbers through?
It's like 120 something.
56.
What's a question you wish people would ask when you meet them for the first time?
Wish people would ask like me.
Yeah, or I mean, what's a question you wish people would ask when they meet you for the first time? So it's just like, instead of like, I think of like, hey, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
what's a different question that would be better? That's how I frame it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you right now, Zach. You got. I would almost wish someone would ask me like, tell me about yourself, and
literally
let
that's what's
them
going through
kind
my
of
head right now.
give
Yeah.
me their
Yeah.
perspective of themselves without it being a one-word answer or a specific answer of how many kids do you have, where do you work, where do you live,
Yeah, the resume.
how old are you, right? Exactly. Just tell me about yourself. What do they have to say? It might not have anything to do with any of that.
I like the open-ended nature of that. Hey, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
Because I was going on direction of where you got something to add to that.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say, is tell me about yourself. But then it took me back to like my dating days when I was almost like a serial dater going around. And like that was the very first question I would always ask. Tell me about yourself. That's how I start every interview now. So from my standpoint, I handle all the interviews for our company. The very first thing I do when I sit down is I don't even look at the resume. I don't look at the questionnaire that we have that they have to fill out before kind of we sit down. I literally go back to the room and say, tell me about yourself, and just leave it open-ended. And some people will be real short. Some people will go on, but I think that's kind of the best question because it is open-ended.
But so, and you don't even prepare yourself before that, so you're not biased either.
Yeah,
so
not
then
at
you
all.
just like work through the resume as you're
Yeah.
sitting there. Then,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right, cool. I like that. I was thinking like kind of more along the lines of like an extreme of them, and see if that like what's like what are you passionate about right now? Like that kind of question. Maybe like get the question going in a completely different direction. Because like at the end of the day, like if you start talking like job and kids and that kind of thing, like where's that conversation going? Mm-hmm. And like, is it going to go into like, now it's like, are you really building a friendship, or are you building a business interaction? Does their business help me to kind of mitigate some of that selfishness?
Yeah, in a way. I mean,
but it's a hard question.
I've had some conversations with people that like don't know anything about me, and they start like that, and I am very, I don't give you anything unless you ask for it, kind. Yeah. And so it's fun from my perspective to have those conversations with someone completely normal who doesn't know me from Adam and thinks I'm just a random dude. And then they start to ask me these basic questions. Where do you live? Oh, Columbus, what do you do for a living? Or like, well, I'm just at home. And then like they say, oh, why were you working in Boston or something like that? Like, and then they start to, take apart this whole, who I am, and then they start to realize like what I've done, and it's cool to watch from my perspective then kind of be like, oh shit, like,
Yeah, but I also think the open-endedness of tell me about yourself will lead down to what they're passionate about. If they bring up just their job, if they bring up just their job, they're probably workaholics and they're very passionate about their job. If they bring up family, work, things like that, they're probably passionate about their family. So I feel like that question, just the way they take it and run with it, tells a lot about themselves. At least that's what I always think when I ask that question.
100%. That's why I would ask it, because it's just a direct path to let them kind of tell what they want to tell you.
Right.
But just from like that example, for me, it's just fun to go down that road and just like watch somebody kind of continually ask questions as they start to, get more and more into you as a person. But yeah, I think if I had one question to ask, that's what it would be.
I like that. you want to throw out a number? There's some bold questions too that are popping out too.
Oh, some bold ones?
Yeah.
All right, throw out one.
I just think this is fun, just particularly because of the differences between the boys. But who is the most influential person alive today?
Alive
today.
This could be anyone. This could be anyone.
It can be anyone that's alive.
What is influence? I mean, right away I go to Elon Musk, in my opinion, just because like when you talk about influence, like the impact that he's having on with everything that he does, like the electric car, what he's doing with the space program stuff. I mean, these are impacts that we might not directly see, but that are going to have massive impacts and influence our lives like in the future. I go there right away.
I went there too, just because like you think Starlink, like the entire world can have like internet connection and accessibility and knowledge, and like now like learning can be infinite, like immediately just because of the internet connection.
Right.
Then now you get into the electric car market and like the electric semi truck he's coming out with now. That I mean he's claiming it has 1 million miles. It can go for 1 million miles. The brakes recharge the battery, and the brakes, so technically brakes aren't brakes, so they can go for incredibly long amounts of time. So like he's changing the world here and there, everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I think Andy's like, obviously with the whole Twitter mess, like he's pressing people, and like he's pressing one of the biggest companies that has the most influence. So you get him in charge of like an influential person with influence, taking control of the mic with influence, like now, or at least opening the mic for everybody, I think is really cool. So I agree with you, and then I'll try to find somebody else too.
But I somewhat disagree with that, because what's the percentage of America that can afford an electric car? What's the percent of America that even has the concept of looking into the whole space program? Like, there are some people that see it and it's just like it's over their head. So Elon Musk is a powerful guy, but from how influential is he on the percent of America, on the percent of the world? Because there's such a large percentage that what he doesn't even influence them at all. And so I'm going to go back to a broader thing, and I don't think it's one person. I'd say it's the media, because I think the media much dictates what people think. Like over the last 20 years, the way people have started thinking has changed drastically from, call it 2002 to 2022, and it has nothing to do with the way we're teaching our kids. It has nothing to do with anything from that standpoint. It is strictly on what is pushed in the media, and they dictate the way people think, and they dictate the way people think their lives, and I don't want to call it a brainwashing, because that's a bad word, but they heavily...
They have the loudest
people
voice.
They
have the loudest voice. If someone's constantly telling you something all the time, you're going to start thinking that way.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of America can't think on their own, right? When
you just said it. Because to me, you're talking about the influence. I couldn't agree more with you. I think Elon Musk's influence is probably going to touch people that don't even realize they're being influenced by the things that he's doing.
Correct.
But from a media standpoint, I think that's a great answer. But I think there's too many people that are sleepwalking. What is it called? Sleepwalking?
Yeah, sleepwalking through life.
They're just on their phone. I mean, I was doing rehab, and a guy had a concussion where I was at doing it. I'm not going to divulge too much, but he got a concussion because he was walking with his head down on his phone, and someone ran into him on a scooter. And he's an athlete. He would have never got hit by a scooter had he not had his. But I just think not only that with the phones, but like just Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Like I'm just whoever I follow. Like that's the content you're taking in, and it's just like, are they really challenging themselves to expand their knowledge and really think for themselves? And that's the scariest part. Now we're getting into maybe a different world.
No, it's like now who is being influenced and that's a hard line.
Well, I mean, if you, I think personally, if we all ask ourselves, is it, can I think about this, objectively, every single thing that's going on in the media, and ask yourself something without bias? Like, I think we each need to individually ask ourselves if we're thinking about things from an objective basis,
it's like,
without bias, without the source.
Can I be influenced? And because, like, in essence, like like I think about this in like the savior complex of that kind of thing, where like if I like there's a quote from A People's History where it's like, if I could lead you out of the woods, somebody could lead you back. Like I'm not, like I'm no Moses.
Right.
Like in that essence. So like you should always think for yourself and question everything, because in essence, like if somebody can influence you like in a great way, they can influence you in a bad way too. So you are then influential or influenced. And so it's like, okay, no matter what I am, no matter what identity or political stance I hold, can I again like ask questions, and then can I make up my mind for myself?
But that you hit the nail on the head, is that how many people can actually ask themselves that question and then can think on their own and make a decision based off the facts that they have. So many people can get influenced and just go and never second guess themselves or sit back and really question. They just automatically go all in.
From 2002 to 2022, the change there, and I'll be more extreme and go way back when people actually had to like fend for themselves a little more. Like you're thinking a lot more for yourself because no one's going to do it for you. And you have to figure out how I'm going to get this food on the table, how I'm going to make sure that we have a house, you know, how I'm going to protect my family, because no one's here to do it for you. So people like are a lot more like independent. And now that we just everything, like I can click on Amazon and I can stay in my house for 3 months and never leave and have everything I need, work from home and never leave my house. Like, I mean,
but
we don't have to do anything on our own. You don't have to have that independence anymore, and you don't have to think for yourself. So you're just, like you said, you don't even realize it. Now you're getting influenced and you don't even think about stuff because you've never really thought for yourself to begin with.
Yeah, well, I brought up 2002 because the way of living from 2002 to 2022 isn't all that different. Cell phones were around, internet was around.
Social media, though.
Yeah, but there was some social media.
2007 was Facebook.
When was MySpace?
Yeah, MySpace was a little bit before that, right?
MySpace was nice.
But what I'm saying is the way of living wasn't drastic. Like if you go back to, you say way back, 82, the way of living, 82.
I was talking about like 1800s.
No, I know, but you get what I'm even saying. You go back another, 20 years from that, the way of living is drastically different.
I get what you're saying. But from a physical
standpoint, 2002 to 2022, it's not that different, but think about how much the world has changed.
As someone who grew up in the 2000s, the biggest thing that I can honestly talk about is social media. Like that, like we didn't grow up with that. I didn't. My phone, I had a flip phone and it had Snake on it and it called my mom and stuff. But like that was it. And I could text people and stuff. But like I wasn't sitting on all these apps. Right. I wasn't like that. Wasn't really a thing until.
But social media
is
still
but still, like these are all just outside stimuluses that are affecting like attention and distraction, and it's really easy to be distracted now. So like I like breaking it down because like in essence, like it's a forced consciousness. You're either mindful or you're mindless. It's really easy to be mindless now. Everything's handed to you: food, water, shelter, potentially education, like all these things. They can be handed to you. So, but out of environmental force to like we'll say the 1800s, okay, I have to be really mindful or I'm going to die. Right. My family's not going to have a house.
Right.
And so they didn't have the distraction that we have today. So I like to split it down to that.
Yeah.
Which.
Yeah. No, it was easier to think for yourself back then because you had to.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why environment's so important. And so that's why you should be mindful of your environment now. You're mindful of how much time you spend on your phone, mindful of what you put in your body, what media you listen to.
Yeah, but the issue is the people who aren't mindful, it gets handed to them.
And
right?
I think to bring this all back to the question about influence, if you aren't mindful, you're easily influenced. Yep. And I think we're in a world now where people aren't nearly as mindful and don't have to be. And is this part of the I don't feel like there's some person behind the curtain like this is a big plan, like they're trying to gain.
No, I think it's just a bunch of people moving forward too.
I think it's people just trying to make more convenient. The more convenient it is, the more people want to buy it. And we get so convenient, we just like don't.
Humans are really good at the easy path.
You know, we're plugging ourselves into the matrix.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, put me in the bed so I don't have to move, and actually like show me a video. Actually pump nutrients in my body so I don't have to do anything. You know
I mean it'll get there if it stays on the path technically. All right, Z, pick a number.
Let's go with 18.
18.
Feel good about 18.
Yeah, I do too.
Better not be a shitty question.
What experience have you had that you wish everybody else could have?
That's a great question.
I feel like I keep looking
know,
at him because I'm trying to avoid my mic. I want to look at you.
I know my answer.
Go ahead. I know mine as well.
You know, I could talk about the sports and stuff. You know, the Olympics or Super Bowls or just like football and stuff. Like, but that's just like. And I don't wish like losing my dad like a close one on anyone, but because of that experience, it gives me such like a grateful perspective. And I feel like as a society, if everyone was like more grateful for how convenient, we just got done talking about how convenient everything is. Like if everyone had just a perspective of being grateful and thankful for the fact that we can sit in this warm house and we're about to go get in the sauna and we're kicking it with our friends. Yeah, we're going to work out too. We're going to get our piss hot. Like, if people just had more of a grateful perspective on life, I think just as a society, we'd be happier and we'd be nicer to each other. And I have that perspective because of, you know, losing something that I cherish so much. And it makes me appreciate the little things that could be gone instantly. So that's probably what my answer would be.
Being grateful might be the most powerful thing in the entire world. Because there are a lot of people who are not grateful for anything nowadays, and they just expect things to be done for them and for things to be easy.
It can change your perspective
grateful
like that.
Is
it's
so
like
powerful.
One thought switch.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank God I have not went through that yet, and I can only imagine what that's like. I am going to take it back to football a little bit just because I can relate it to kind of the rest of my life, and that was a time where basically I got cut for like the 5th time. I knew my football career was over with. In a sport that I absolutely loved and was my entire life since the age of, I started tackle football at the age of 5, right? What I was doing.
He started before most kids.
Yeah. But the sport that I loved and that's all I did and we would train year round for it was taken away from me. And it's nothing that I did or not a decision that I made. Forced me to grow up really quickly. And when something that you love is taken away from you and you have to fight that adversity, you have to fight all the emotions, you have to dig yourself out of the hole and find something else that you're passionate about and be able to take all the energy that I used for football and be able to put it into something else. Dude, that's powerful. And there's so many people that if something was taken from them, they're going to bitch, they're going to throw a fit, they're going to want people to feel sorry for them. You know, they're going to expect other things to be handed to them. When you get in that situation and you have to fight your way out, I mean, you guys are my boys, but you guys are off playing, right? So it's like there were so many times during football season, that was my least favorite time of the year because I knew everyone was gone and I was kind of here by myself. And it was the hardest part. And so looking back, I'm like, that may have been the greatest thing for me because it made me grow up really quick. It made me find other passions. It made me kind of morph my brain into thinking a different way. And so many people need to be challenged like that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And kind of from both you guys' stories, like and like the first things that hopped into my mind are like learning experiences. Like I didn't think, we didn't think, hey, Super Bowl, hey, 12, whatever it ends up being, like you won't want, I want everybody to be happy, but like the failures and the loss is way more powerful and life altering and that kind of thing. So I think that tolerance and like the understanding that like success, like fulfillment, things like that, like those all involve failure, loss, things like that. But
I will say on the failure and loss, the best part of those stories though and those experiences are the overcoming,
the response.
And like in your scenario, it was a great experience because you found out about yourself and that makes you feel good about yourself because you answered the call and you figured it out, you know, and I think that's the part that people need to experience is being in a rut, my situation, whatever, and finding a way to get through that, navigate it, and, you know, feeling good about who they are because they can, you know, weather that storm, whatever that storm is.
But what I worry about the most, and last time after our Q&A, we had a long discussion about kids. What I worry the most is that so many people can't do that and can't fight through it. And we just talked 100%. About how dependent people are on other things being done for them. What I worry about is when our kids grow up that's not even a thing. Right, is that as soon as something happens like that, you're automatically going to therapy. You're automatically getting all of this help when so much of going through adversity is doing it on your own. right? And being able to come out of it by yourself and realize like, hey, I don't need to rely on other people. I don't need someone to tell me I need to be doing this. I can find a way to do this on my own.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to approach that from like twofold in that realm where like you said two really cool things. One, like I think a lesson, and like I've been reading on these concepts too, where like you can't bubble wrap your kids. Like everybody wants, I want my kid to have a better life than me. I don't want my kid to get hurt, but really like we just said it, like pain, loss, toughness, adversity is necessary. So you need to intentionally or mindfully, to wrap this conversation around for the other questions as well, you need to mindfully like add adversity to your child, or else he's going to like, and so in essence, like physiologically what happens is, again, once comfort or like these good dopamine stimuluses come in where you feel good and like, oh, I'm smart, I have video games, I have whatever the fuck, like as this like tolerance grows, because now like once you experience like comfort, like now you need more comfort, and it becomes like an addiction concept. And but what happens is kind of like a little teeter-totter, where once this side gets really heavy on convenience and ease and pleasure, your pain tolerance shrinks. So like that's where like now you're really more things are painful, you're easily triggered, things like that. So like people need to mindfully approach it in that realm.
Mindfully add adversity to not only your children's life but your own life. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, that
teeter-totter one is like, it hits hard.
Well, yeah, it gets really fun when you think about it too, because like you can go social media, you can go drugs, you can go caffeine, everything. Like I do it in the breath world, like CO2 tolerance. Like everything's a tolerance, and like so the more exposure you have to it, whether that's stress or comfort, you're gonna get tolerant to it, and you're gonna grow.
It's a yin and yang concept.
Yeah.
And I
the
love
circle.
yin and yang.
It's a circle.
Well, there's balance in everything in life, and if you try to take more from one side, you're gonna lose it from the other. I like just the pain tolerance thing. Like you get yourself so comfortable, so soft that like you were able to tolerate is just not the same.
And like
it's funny how we all relate it, because you started giving that example, and I start thinking about kids sports now. Right, and when the kid doesn't get the touches or gets the touchdowns, he wants to cry when when he's not doing it, and wants his parents to say, "Oh, everything's okay, Johnny, you're the best." Things like that. It's like I think back to, I know your dad, my dad, right? I know Jeff was like this too, right? It's, hey, if you're not getting touches, if you're not doing this, you need to practice, you need to play better, and now it's just. Like you said, pain tolerance gets so much smaller because now
no child left behind participation trophy kind of.
My dad would boo me if I missed free throws or struck out playing baseball. He'd boo.
Yeah,
but it was like a joke. But it was also like
he was serious,
and then he was just like, I don't know. I think it was a way to like kind of make my tolerance for the lack of success or failure in that regard. Like make me realize it, but make me realize it's not the end of the world, kind of thing. Like,
well, I think that like that's a toughness thing too, because like I think because when I coach athletes and that kind of thing, I said one of the biggest things you need to do to be like a successful athlete, you need to be able to chirp and be chirped. Like you need to be able to like again get to like give shit and take shit as far as like the locker room lifestyle, because that's like part of the culture building.
Especially
but
take it.
Sure. So, but like as a tolerance,
he was just chirping me. I remember playing basketball. We were up by like 30 points or something. Every time I missed a free throw, he was up in these rafters, just booing me, and it was just hilarious. Like they're like, "Is that your son?" And he's like, "Yeah,
should have made it." Yeah. I'll wrap it up. Just what's the question again? What experience have you had that wish? A couple things came to mind. Again, it's all adversity based though. Like being jumped, but like the most recent one is being lost in the backcountry. So like,
that's a great story. I haven't heard this one.
Yeah, so Laura lost me. And it was just like sound won't carry like when you go down these ravines between these mountains and stuff, and like we go separate ways.
Do you guys ever talk about like a meeting point if this happens?
We do now. We learned our lesson because there's a couple different things. So like there's like you have like an off-grid map, so like you can kind of find it. This is the first trip into the backcountry I took with her, so I wasn't prepared in general. She tried to prepare me, I wasn't prepared.
Is this just past week?
No, this is the first time I went up to Montana.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah,
okay,
so I was up there. We were out there for like 5-6 days.
You're
and
in Puerto Rico. What am I talking
Yeah, no. But
you ain't getting lost there, Bob.
Yeah.
Should I go make another coffee? I think I need another coffee.
But anyways, got lost in a ravine. Then I was using the river as a landmark. My wayfaring skills are absolute trash. I'm a Waze, Google Maps guy, obviously, as everybody has become. But so I have this river as my landmark, but then like I go up this ravine, I come back down, and then I'm actually looking at a different river on the other side of the mountain. But it's like everything just looks like hills and rolling trees to me. And eventually, like I would always just like every now and then go caw, and she'd caw back or like say yeah or whatever. And so I'd know where she's at. And then like I didn't hear her one time, and it kind of happened a couple times before. But then like 3-4 cacaws later, nothing. Like then I was like, all right, I knew she was keeping this line on the mountain. I go to and my mistake, I went and tried to track her down and got even more lost. And so if I would have went towards that river, I would have been miles away from where like our camp was.
Yeah.
And I didn't have this offline map yet because it was my first trip. And we were,
yeah. Sorry, you go.
No, but anyway, so like you find out really quick. Like
no, I don't want to go there yet. I'm not done with this story.
Yeah.
Did she track you? You should have sat put with an Indian style and just like let her find you.
So eventually she did track me. She didn't hear me for a while. She went up. She knew the line I was keeping. Went up and then followed my steps. And like she like tracked.
She literally tracked you.
She literally tracked me. And
did Neuron follow you or did she? Did Neuron follow you or did she?
No, she did. But now I bet Neuron could follow me.
Did you stay put?
No, I was moving the entire time until I heard a hey, like that kind of thing. And
how long was this? Being lost.
Hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah, but that's
that's
scary though. It could be like.
How high did your heart rate get at any given point?
No, I literally like. So eventually, like at one point in this thing, it wasn't starting to get dark yet. It was probably like 3-4 o'clock. But I kind of like just like stood there. I'm like looking out the expanse, like nobody out there. We're 50 miles from the next human, let alone the town.
Right.
And so like I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, like worst case scenario, what do we got to do? Like how do I?
In the river?
Yeah.
You're like, I need to get close to the river. We're gonna swim.
Yeah, cold water's safe to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, like I eventually like sort through my mind, like, okay, what do I got to do? And like, okay, like where did we start? I'm like trying to navigate, but I'm also like, okay, like worst case scenarios, what do I have? And then like, but I'm problem solving really quick. And it was like I was definitely scared for like a couple little bouts. And then eventually like I kind of like got my wits about me. I was like, okay, if I go here, then like this call will go down both these valleys. And if she's not there, I'll go to this one and like whatever. And then, but funny, it's part of the story, she tracked me. And so we're out there like looking for antlers. Yeah. And she tracked my steps, and while she was on my steps, she found that elk antler right there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like I missed it. Yeah. So she like, so she still jokes with me about that. Yeah.
Dumbass.
Ryan's fending
it came after I went by. I swear.
Yeah. Ryan's fending for his life, and she's
the elk
just
was
like,
following me.
Yeah. But it's just a cool like problem solving. And then like you read the book Comfort Crisis, and he's out in the wilderness for 30 days, and like what happens with that amount of peace, that lack of input and stimulus of like a phone and social media and things like that. Like you get creative again. You start like nobody's bored anymore. Like everybody's like attention is being held some way, shape, or form by another human, by media, TV, whatever it ends up being. So I think it's just cool to be like out in the backcountry in general, but like getting lost was just like, okay. But I also like I found out where I was weak. Like I have no tracking skills. I have minimal survival skills.
Yeah.
So like,
if you had to build a hut that night, it would have been terrible. You would have taken 2 leaves.
Well, I watched the season of Alone to get prepped for it. I was good. So like I was like, but I had minimal tool. I had like a knife on me, like minimal food, and like it's not like worst case scenario. Like I'll try and navigate my way out of there. But anyways, it was just a cool learning experience where like after that I started like asking more questions, and I got more information on, and I got the app. I got prepared. But now, like, that's kind of on me not to enter the situation prepared and or, like, again.
How excited were you to see her?
Well, she hit me with, like, a not a caw. I can't remember the sound she makes. But anyways, it's just, like, I was like, fuck yes. I was just like, thank God. But also then she's like, yeah, different river. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. But, no, that was cool. But, all right, bam, boys. Like, that was way more time than anticipated. But, bam.
I liked that story.
Yeah, thanks everybody for stopping by.
Have we